Let's start with the circus that never closes. Jaden Alexis, Krishan Rock, and Blueface. At this point, this isn't even a love triangle. It's a full-blown demolition derby, and somehow the same man is still being treated like a prize. Jaden recently went public, expressing how upset she was after Blueface openly admitted that he chose Krishan Rock over her. Not privately, not behind closed doors, publicly, loudly, casually, as if these are not real people with real emotions involved. And what made the situation even messier is that shortly after this admission, Jaden hinted very loudly that she might be pregnant again. Now, whether she was trolling, clout baiting, or telling the truth, the reaction was immediate. The internet stopped, rewound, and said, "Wait, what?" Jaden's frustration seems to stem from confusion more than jealousy. She genuinely appears baffled by the fact that Blueface would consider Krishan better, especially given the ongoing criticism surrounding Krishan's behavior, parenting choices, and overall instability. And to fully understand why Jaden reacted the way she did, we need to start with Blueface's own words. In a recent clip, Blueface confirmed that yes, he chose Krishan over Jaden, and he explained why. According to him, Krishan lasted longer in his life, supported him better emotionally, and knew how to cheer him on. He even gave Jaden credit, saying she stayed around for about a year, but ultimately claimed she lacked emotional support. And this is where things get interesting. Blueface made it very clear that when he says support, he doesn't mean financially. He means encouragement, emotional backing, loyalty in public, and being someone who lifts him up rather than questions him. In his words, Jaden has good qualities, but she also has bad ones, namely that she doesn't know how to cheer him on. Meanwhile, he painted Krishan as chaotic but loyal, a mess but his mess, someone who doesn't necessarily respect herself but knows how to gas him up. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know. After that clip went viral, Jaden wasted absolutely no time responding, and she wasn't subtle about it either. Jaden questioned how Krishan could be considered better when she's allegedly giving her child cough medicine in the backseat of a Buick in broad daylight. Her tone wasn't just judgmental, it was genuinely confused, like she was trying to understand the logic behind Blueface's choice and coming up empty every time. She made it clear that this is not her parenting style, not her mindset, and not how she operates. And from her perspective, she can't reconcile how those behaviors somehow outweigh her own qualities. Now, the video Jaden referenced, the one involving Krishan giving her baby medicine in the car, did circulate heavily, and yes, it raised eyebrows. But here's where we need to pause and be honest. Yes, Krishan Rock clearly has issues. That's not up for debate. She's emotionally immature, impulsive, and often reckless. She has a lot of healing and growing to do. But let's also not pretend that Jaden is some innocent victim in all of this. Jaden continues to involve herself with a man who publicly humiliates her, disrespects her, and entertains multiple women at the same time. And instead of stepping away, she doubles down, repeatedly. So while Jaden may be confused about why Blueface chose Krishan, the real confusion should be why either of them are still choosing Blueface. At this point, it's not about winning, it's about self-respect. Just when people thought the drama might cool down, Jaden posted a video announcing that she is pregnant and that she's keeping the baby. The tone? Defiant, provocative, almost taunting. She said, "I'm pregnant, I'm keeping the baby, now what?" And the internet collectively sighed. Because this isn't empowerment, this isn't growth, this is exhaustion. She's proudly announcing a pregnancy by a man who's actively sleeping with multiple women, creating chaos between households and showing zero signs of stability. And the part that really got people was the framing, like this was some sort of victory. It wasn't. It felt more like a cry for validation wrapped in sarcasm. And at this point, people are tired, not entertained, tired. Let me be clear. I want the best for Jaden. I want the best for Krishan. I want the best for the children involved. But I am done pretending this is cute, funny, or iconic. This is dysfunction on repeat. And when I said throw them all away, no, I did not mean the children. Let's not be dense. But the situation itself, the cycle, the behavior patterns, throw it away.
Now let's move into something that actually deserves respect. Jocelyn Hernandez recently celebrated 3 years of sobriety, and instead of congratulating her, some of y'all decided to doubt her. And that does not sit right with me. Jocelyn posted a powerful message reflecting on her journey, saying she's 3 years off drugs, 3 years with a clear mind, 3 years of solitude, and thankful she didn't lose her life to addiction. That's not a joke, that's survival. Addiction is not something you look clean from. Weight gain does not equal relapse, and the fact that people are using her healthier appearance to question her sobriety is nasty work. If anything, this should be celebrated, especially for young girls watching. So no, I'm not doubting her, I'm applauding her. Now this next story really bothered me. Cardi B is facing backlash, quietly, for allegedly calling a 4-year-old child a B-word during a viral sports prediction video. The child does innocent football helmet pics. That's it. No shade, no malice. And Cardi didn't like the prediction. Her reaction? Profanity, directed toward a child. Now here's the part that really gets me. Why are the blogs silent? If this were anyone else, anyone not protected, favored, or excused, we would never hear the end of it. There would be think pieces, outrage, cancellation demands, and petitions. But suddenly, it's crickets. The child's father even spoke up, explaining that his daughter is 4 years old and the video was family-friendly. However, if you take the emotion out of it and just look at the facts, the situation doesn't look romantic at all. Stefon Diggs has a documented history of instability in his personal life, including multiple children within a very short period of time. That alone should be a red flag for anyone seeking peace, structure, or long-term stability. Yet Cardi continues to present herself as proud, unbothered, and fully accepting of the chaos. That's not confidence, that's conditioning. When Stefon Diggs spoke to the media and mentioned Cardi B, a lot of people focused on the surface-level compliments. He called her supportive, he said she was an amazing woman, but what people missed were the small details, the parts that actually tell the truth. He admitted that she wasn't even interested in football before he converted her. That wasn't a compliment, that was him acknowledging that her interest wasn't organic. It was situational. It was about being included, not about genuine connection. When a man tells you that you adopted his world after entering his life, rather than sharing it naturally, that's not romance, that's alignment for access. And the fact that he said it so casually shows that he knows exactly how this relationship functions. He didn't describe a partnership built on mutual values. He described someone eager to fit into his environment. One of the hardest truths for people to accept is that someone can be famous, wealthy, and successful and still deeply insecure. Cardi B's public persona suggests confidence, but her behavior tells a very different story. She does not mind public embarrassment if it means she gets to remain attached. Time and time again, situations involving infidelity, disrespect, and chaos have played out in front of millions, and her response has consistently been acceptance rather than boundaries. When she publicly stated that she was keeping her baby regardless of the circumstances, that wasn't empowerment, that was resignation. When she appeared publicly beside Stefon Diggs shortly after negative stories surfaced, that wasn't strength, that was compliance. A person with genuine self-esteem does not tolerate repeated disrespect in exchange for validation. Now let's talk about the paternity suit that was suddenly dismissed, because this is where logic matters more than speculation. Lawsuits don't disappear because people suddenly feel generous. They disappear because agreements are made privately.
When a paternity and child support case is dismissed without prejudice, it usually indicates that financial arrangements have already been handled behind the scenes. This wasn't an emotional decision, it was a transactional one. Support was secured, terms were agreed upon, the situation was resolved quietly, which is exactly how these things tend to go when money is involved. And while one woman handled her situation privately and efficiently, Cardi B remained publicly attached to the narrative, positioning herself as if chaos is something to be proud of rather than something to avoid. There's a dangerous myth that wealth somehow protects people from consequences. It doesn't. Health risks don't care about fame. Emotional damage doesn't disappear because someone has money. And instability doesn't magically turn into security because someone has status. When someone chooses to remain in a situation where recklessness is normalized, that is a conscious decision, not bad luck. And Cardi B continues to make that decision repeatedly. At her level, she has access to discretion, privacy, and options. The fact that she continues to accept chaos says more about her internal state than it does about the men involved. Now let's move on to Nicki Minaj, because the narrative surrounding her this week was a perfect example of how badly people want to see her embarrassed.
When news broke about a judgment involving her husband, the response online wasn't curiosity, it was anticipation. People were hoping, waiting, and even praying that this would be the moment her life publicly fell apart. That alone should tell you everything you need to know. The story quickly turned into claims that her multi-million-dollar home would be forcibly sold to satisfy a judgment. That narrative was pushed aggressively, even though it made no logical sense. Someone who owns a property worth nearly $20 million does not suddenly become financially incapable over a fraction of that amount. The facts are simple. An incident occurred years ago involving her husband and a security guard. A lawsuit followed. Due to alleged issues with proper service, a default judgment was entered. Eventually, the matter was settled and the judgment was satisfied before any forced sale could take place. The home was not sold. The crisis people hoped for did not happen. The narrative collapsed. And once again, reality failed to match the hysteria. This was never about justice or accountability. It was about optics. The idea of seeing a powerful woman publicly embarrassed was more appealing to people than the truth. And when that didn't happen, frustration followed. Every time someone predicts the downfall and it doesn't arrive, the goalpost moves. One week, it's finances. Another week, it's family. Another week, it's politics. The target stays the same, only the weapon changes. The situation involving an old tour participant making public accusations was another example of opportunism disguised as truth-telling. When someone senses vulnerability, or even the perception of vulnerability, people with unresolved resentment come forward. Stories get exaggerated. Intentions get reframed. Private moments are suddenly presented as evidence of wrongdoing. What made this particular situation revealing wasn't the accusation itself, but the receipts showing repeated attempts to gain attention, contact, or relevance. That shifts the narrative from whistleblowing to obsession. Dragging someone at their perceived low point doesn't make anyone credible, it just exposes motive. What ties all of these situations together is not celebrity, it's behavior. We're watching one person repeatedly sacrifice dignity for validation, while another is constantly subjected to public attempts at humiliation that fail to materialize. And the reactions to both reveal more about the audience than the individuals involved. And yet, silence. That's not accountability, that's favoritism. Now, let's talk about how narratives get twisted. 50 Cent made comments about celebrities and why he personally avoids discussing politics and religion publicly. He mentioned Kanye and Nicki as examples of how public opinion can be weaponized against artists. And what did the blogs do? They ran with headlines claiming he said Kanye and Nicki ruined their careers. That is not what he said. A community note even corrected the narrative, stating that his words were taken out of context. This is exactly why people are afraid to speak. Nicki Minaj is set to appear at the Trump Accounts Summit, which focuses on early financial literacy and investment accounts for children.
And regardless of your politics, the idea of setting children up financially early is not evil, it's strategic. Nicki retweeted information about the initiative and spoke about children learning to invest, even teaching their parents. You don't have to agree with everything she does to acknowledge that she stands for something, and that's rare. So let me know what you think about all of these topics down below. Be respectful, be honest, be real. Thank you for rocking with me, laughing with me, and thinking with me. Remember, when in doubt, pull your mother effing blunts out. Until next time, I love y'all.